Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm KJ, by the way, and as you can see, we are going to be doing a little story time while I do my makeup. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, so this story time is going to be about the crazy day my mom and I hid my neighbor from her own boyfriend. So, one seemingly normal day, my mom and I are in the house and minding our own business until we notice some cops outside, like I believe a few cop cars. And my neighbor, who lives like right next door, is speaking with them. So, because we're on good terms with that particular neighbor, we're like, I wonder if she's okay. So, we open our front door. We ask her what's wrong. And immediately, she is frantic. Like, she said so much. The most I could make out was that she got into it with her boyfriend, who was also my neighbor, a few doors down from us. And something about him being hyped up on some drugs right at the time, like some foolishness, right? She was speaking so fast and she was so frantic, we hardly knew what was going on. So, some kind of a way, she ends up in our apartment. This was a few years ago too, so some of the details I'm not recalling completely, but some kind of a way, she ends up in our apartment. And we set her down on the couch, and she just goes on and on about what happened. And apparently, like I said, there ended up being some sort of fight between them, but in the midst of all her rambling, she tells us that he left, but in the meantime, he left his door unlocked and wide open. So, I didn't want to be in the house a part of all of that drama. So I volunteered to walk over to his place, close his door for him, and make sure that his cat doesn't get out. Because usually the cat is like an indoor cat. He don't really go anywhere when it comes to outside. So she didn't want the cat getting lost, hurt, whatever. So my mom's in the house consoling her. I go to the door, and obviously something happened. Like, it went down. Because the second I get to his door, all I see is a bunch of trash. All in front of his door. Like, it was bad. Like, for real, guys, there was a brawl going on. It was a total train wreck for no apparent reason. Like, I think even the trash can itself was out there, something. And usually there is no trash out there, so I don't know how it got from in the house all the way to his front door, but it did. So, scared and nervous as to when he's going to come back, I just decided to pull the door closed and practically run back home. So, I get in the house. We're just talking, offered her some water. She's just frantic, trying to calm her down. And by this time, the cops left. I guess whatever happened, it wasn't significant enough for them to stick around. So, they leave, and we're talking with the neighbor. All of a sudden, I hear a very loud noise, like something had been thrown or dropped, something. But I also heard a voice. I just couldn't make out what it said. So I go to the patio door, and I look out the window, and he's home. Her boyfriend is back, and he is the epitome of pissed. So the second I see him, I turn around and I'm like, oh crap, he's home. So to keep from being seen, since we're trying to, not give him any ideas that his girlfriend is hiding in our apartment, My mom tells me to get away from the window. So at that point, we're just sitting there quiet because the walls are super thin. So the last thing we wanted was for him to hear us. We sitting there quiet, and all of a sudden, we hear some noises that are even closer. So, just a few seconds later, we hear some noise coming from her apartment, and he's like, "Where are you?" He's looking through rooms. He's slamming doors. I think some things ended up breaking. Like, it was bad. He was looking for her. And in fact, honestly, he was so mad. I really have to wonder what he would have done to her had she not been in our apartment, you know? Like, I just wonder what he would have done. Because he's never seemed like a very violent person. Like, we've always felt safe, you know, talking to him, comfortable with him. But this time, he was mad. So, he's in there for, I forget how long, probably a few minutes, because the apartments aren't very big at all. So, it literally took him only a few seconds to realize that she wasn't in there. So, the second we find out that he's in her apartment, throwing things around, being destructive, we call the cops, only to be told that there are no officers available. Now, this isn't the first time this has happened, but for something as serious as a man possibly, you know, hunting for a woman, possibly going to harm her if he ever finds her, you know, like, for something like this, I would have thought that they would have taken it more seriously and found an officer from somewhere. But no, they didn't. No officers available. And that was that. Like, they didn't know what to tell us at all. So, at that point, we're like, okay, well, let's just keep quiet, keep her in here for a few hours, and see just what exactly he does. So, time goes on, and by time, I mean several hours pass. She's still in our unit, hiding out, and we call again, because there is still no cop. And now, we went from afternoon to evening, still no cop. So, we call again, still no officers available. And we call again, and again, and again, and again. I think we ended up calling, goodness, at least about, 5, 6 times? Something crazy like that, because we're wondering, well, when can she go back to her unit, you know, safely? Because we're like, is he coming back? Is he still mad? But during this time, we hadn't heard anything from him. He never came back. He seemed to be his unit seemed to be pretty quiet as well. But, you know, you just never know. So, several hours go by. We are well into the night, and after several times of calling, there's finally an officer on the way. So, he gets here. Things are still quiet. He comes. He does his thing. We talk to him. And he tells us, I don't think my neighbor was around to hear this part, but he ends up telling my mom and I the exact reason why he didn't come out the first several calls. Turns out he was taking his time because he was one of the officers that came out. Where is my concealer? That came out earlier that day. And while he was out investigating the first time, from the first call, he said that he stood at her boyfriend's apartment and watched my neighbor break his TV. So because he stood there, watched her break his TV, he had pretty much already known that this was a petty domestic dispute that wasn't worth his time. So basically, we went the whole afternoon without an officer because he already knew that was nothing but a bunch of crap that he had already been out for. Like I said, my neighbor didn't hear all this. She was just barking at the officer because she's thinking that around here you have to practically be nearly deceased before officers will come to help you. So that's what she thought had gone on. We're like the only ones still to this day that know why he took his time. Alright guys, that is it for this story time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know in the comments section what you would like to see next. Also, follow me on Instagram at Catherine James. And in the meantime, I will see you guys in my next one. Bye y'all.